Good evening, my name is Angelo Mazziotta. I'm a junior at Cathedral High School, and I will be presenting Sexism in the Workplace. Many people take life as lessons to be learned. When it comes to sexism, the same message is stated, saying that women should just take what happens as a lesson in life and move on. But when women have been doing the same work, if not more, with better skills and talents than men, and are still not paid as much or given that managerial position, doesn't it seem a little strange to just move on? Sexism in the workplace is an issue that we all need to be aware of, not just women anymore. Men are also being subjugated to the effects of sexism. Most young men are losing managerial positions to young women based solely on their looks, instead of their abilities and talents that most companies state. Still, most sexism is directed at women. 31% account for being sexually harassed even in a managerial position, and 90% of women account to men discriminating against them in the workplace. Big businesses and corporations have developed a distribution of the company's policies to the employees, considering sexism, and guidelines for how the company will deal with such reports of sexism. Still, women are not being treated with the same respect and dignity as men. In fact, it might be stated that some of the reasons why women are being treated unfairly is because men have been controlling the corporate and household world, treating women so since before the 1920s. The outlook of women's professions never surpassed anything more than secretary, seamstress, or librarian at first. Women traditionally were looked at as childbearers and homemakers. It would seem preposterous for a woman to work in a business, but breaking away from that traditional gender role was the first step towards equality. The fight against sexism has been going on since women first fought for the right to vote. The first major act in dealing with sexual discrimination in the workplace was made in 1963 when Congress passed the Equal Pay Act, which prohibits the discrimination of pay on account of sex. Just a year later, the Civil Rights Act was passed, which makes it illegal for employers to discriminate someone based on their sex. Some people say that women are just complaining about how hard their lives are and should just play by the rules and move on. Still, if you were getting paid half of what another person was, even though you knew that you worked harder, just because of the fact that you are a woman, wouldn't you be a little perturbed? Statistics show that women with children are paid 2.5% less than men with children. Women are also kept from working full-time schedules, which contributes to the declining pay for women. After these statistics, would it be logical for women to just move on? For a while, though, women were beginning to receive higher wages, more managerial positions, and corporate office spots at Fortune 500 companies. After a slight fall every 2 years since the 1980s, women's pay dropped in 2006, reaching 78.7%, keeping the pay gap at around 20% when comparing it with most men's wages. Also note that the women of color are paid even less than that of white women. Leadership spots for women in America fell by 6% in just 1 year. Female corporate officers at Fortune 500 companies have dropped in the past 3 years, and the number of female Fortune 500 seat holders has yet to go up. And yet, in a recent poll, sex discrimination charges have peaked at an all-time high. More than $787 million have been spent in sexual discrimination cases from large companies including Walmart, Boeing, Verizon, American Express, and many others. Women everywhere are being treated unfairly and with disrespect in the workplace, not just in big businesses anymore. Sexual discrimination charges have started to hit smaller companies as well. The fact of the matter is that women aren't taking as much initiative about this discrimination as they should. Some facts are that women are most likely to be laid off during a company downsizing as opposed to a male employee, both of who are equal in all aspects. Such acts of sexism are unfair for the woman and must be fought against. Letting such discrimination proceed without action is just a cause for more sexism. Take, for example, a woman VP working at a certain bank. She had been working there for almost 20 years, and it was time for the workers to receive their Christmas bonuses. It turns out that she received $6,000 in comparison to the $20,000 that a male employee who had just begun working there received. She became very perturbed about the situation, but was forced to keep quiet about it, or she would lose her job as another female employee had. Although most corporate businesses repeat that leadership positions or reasons for higher wages are based on the abilities and talents of the workers, in the case of the female VP, it did not show. Women have been brought up thinking that they should stay in the same traditional role played out for centuries. They need to be taken care of, they need to bear a child, and they need to help the man of the house. Social acceptances for women as business leaders and CEOs of companies have started to change that traditional style of women to something even more. Women have challenged these traditional outlooks of life by taking up predominantly male roles of work. Women aren't seen as interdependent anymore and have shown that they can do whatever work a man can do, sometimes even better. We've come a long way from a woman being modeled as homemakers to female CEOs and seat holders of Fortune 500 companies. But that does not take away from the fact that women are still subjugated to discrimination in the workplace. Some believe that the barriers women have to challenge are smaller than those faced in the past, but are therefore harder to overcome. It is true that women have gained an advantage, and that the barriers are smaller. But it is possible to triumph over this discrimination. So, after all the hard work, why, so subtly, have women's pay and positions been declining? Maybe some people think that women have received what they fought for already, and thus should get back in line. Competitions in such places tend to keep women away from earning more than men. Women have become more of a power player in big corporations, but men have built up against competing against that fact. Women are starting to take charge of the world that men have had for so long. Still, there will always be a slight gap in men and women preventing advancements until action is taken. Whatever the case, the women must continue to fight for their rights, their equal pay, their leadership positions, and their abilities. Women must empower themselves and be assertive when dealing with sexism in the workplace. Women can try various means to not only prevent sexual discrimination, but also show the offenders that they aren't going to stand for it anymore. Ways such as getting rid of casual sexism, i.e. jokes using or pertaining to sexist remarks, changing their political outlook. Employees should be motivated to enforce the company's policies on sexism, taking the case to court, and leaving a company when sexual discrimination continues. Recently, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act of 2009 also gives women hope to fight for better pay. The Fair Pay Act would clarify that laws against pay on accounts of sex shall be applied to every paycheck or other compensations. Actions like this only give hope and strength to many women who have dealt with sexism. Sexual discrimination has been fought in the past and will continue to be fought until women are considered equal. Women have to be proud in their accomplishments, and must use that to further their endeavors. Once women can do that, sexual discrimination could be a thing of the past. I am Angelo Mazziotta, and this has been Sexism in the Workplace. Thank you.